This is the third and last video analyzing scene by scene my favorite movie, Donnie Darko. This video does not only contain spoilers, obviously, but it is actually intended for those that are obsessed with this movie as I am. So we left it here. We left it on the moment where Jim Cunningham was encouraging the girls of Sparkle Motion into the performance. We see that he's already involved in school activities. That actually in the script, Jim Cunningham touches one of the girls and says, and she returns uh, the smile with a grin that shows something like she's not comfortable. And then we see the dance. The dance is notorious, but it was meant to be Western Girls by the Pet Shop Boys originally. I think the Notorious is much better. It has a rhythm that resonates with that. We and this dance stands in contrast with Churita Chan's dance. The Churita Chan's performance was a sensitive performance. In the movie, we see a bit of condescendence from the public. In the script, actually, she gets laughed out of the stage with few people supporting her. The most the one that supports her the most is Miss Pomeroy, the good teacher, let's say. And she gets laughed off the stage, and while the Sparkle Motion girls are triumphing, she's sitting alone outside uh, under the school mascot statue, uh, defeated, and that's this feeling of contrast. The dance that Sparkle Motion do, you've noticed that this is a very sexualized dance. There's nothing really wrong with it, unless you're a Puritan or something like that. It's fine. I mean, but it is sexualized, but that would be on the pretty much on the eye of the beholder. So that would be in Jim Cunningham's eye. Let's look quickly at that dance.
Now that was really something. Thank you, Sharita Chin with Autumn Angel. And now the moment we've all been waiting for is here. It is my very distinct pleasure to introduce to you Emily Bates, Susie Bailey, Samantha Darko, Beth Farmer, and Joni James. They are Sparkle Motion.
Alrighty then, so we see Churita Shan there sitting alone and defeated. Um, Charity Shan, I think it's a bit like the representation of the poor masses of the earth. Okay, so we got the burning of the house of Jim Cunningham. He returns to the cinema. Uh, Gretchen and Donnie spend the night sleeping outside. I don't think they slept together at this moment. Well, they slept physically together, but not they haven't had intercourse at this point yet. Um, then Donnie returns to home, finds Eddie that gives him the no bullshit speech, in which you can see the character, you can see where his rebelliousness is coming from, and it's also a point of reinforcing this disruptiveness of Donnie. And then we discover that Donnie's Jim Cunningham's had a kiddie uh, porn dungeon in his home when Elizabeth is watching the TV and sees that, and then Donnie smiles, and he smiles because he trusted Frank this time. So the flooding of the school, he was that's my what I get. He was very much in trance, trusting, so following orders, but without. And I think that in the burning of Jim Cunningham's house, there's a bit more free will. So Frank has this conversation with him on the cinema, uh, implying he already knows pretty much the whole story. Not maybe how the end and the insurance trap will work, but pretty much um, um what's going to happen. And Donnie does it by himself with his powers of conjuring fire, and he chooses to do it, and he's rewarded because he sees that there was a purpose now on burning the house, which, by the way, it's parallel on the Destructor's tale and also his previous history of burning another house. But he sees that there was a purpose for that, and it's a good purpose. So he's um, uh, following. He's doing God's work, if you want. So next we move to the firing of Miss Pomeroy.
I'm sorry, Karen. This is a progressive school, but we don't feel the methods you've undertaken here are appropriate.
What exactly about my methods are inappropriate?
I am sorry that you have failed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another appointment. You can finish out the week.
In the original script, there's a piece that says, Principal Cole, I don't have to get myself into debate about this. I believe I have made myself clear. And Miss Pomeroy answers, you call this clarity? I don't think you have a clue what it's really like to communicate with these kids. You don't think that they can smell your bullshit from a mile away? Every day that goes by that we fail to inspire them is another moment that we all lose, and we are losing them to apathy, and this is prescribed nonsense. They are slipping away, and then pretty much Okay, so she gets fired. She goes out of the principal Cole's office. Uh, there stands the in the script Kitty and the other professors probably having heard how Miss Pomeroy got fired. So it's it's like very dramatic. She storms out outside and says fuck and realizes that Churita is there. And she looks at Churita with a face showing her vulnerability, but also with a face that says a bit like, okay, so I know that you are an intelligent girl. I pity you. Um, you have a sensibility, obviously, because of the performance that you just did. And I'm afraid that you are lost in the hands of these teachers and this educational system. Um, then her appearance from that point onwards is much it's different. She is less energetic. She have a different demeanor. Starting from the very beginning, she just enters the school and finds Principal Cole announcing the that the girls of Spark Motion have passed the test and that they're uh, competing on a higher level in California, I believe. Um, and so you got like the perfect loser, and the other guys are ecstatic, very happy. And then the tables turn. Um, Nothing gets better for Miss Pomeroy, but all of a sudden, all this enthusiasm gets shattered by the newspaper that is presented in front of Principal Cole and Miss Farmer, saying that Jim Cunningham has been charged by the police because the firemen have found a kiddie porn dungeon, as it is described. Okay, so that shows a clear intervention of Donnie and Frank and whoever's in top of Frank, um, stopping the bad guys, the let's say the unconscious guys to win, and Jim Cunningham is definitely bad. And I think that that is the so let's say that there was an objective in this tangent universe. That would be it. Stop, discover Jim Cunningham before he can do any damage. And then it's just a matter of wrapping it up to make sure that the insurance trap works and the universe doesn't disappear, which is a rather important detail. Okay, so now immediately we go to the Watership Down scene, and we see what happens there.
The field. The field. It's covered with blood.
Blood? That was silly. All right, Fiver. It's getting dark. I think we should get back to the burrow.
Back to the burrow. It'll come there. Don't think it won't. It's all around us.
Now stop it, Fiver.
We've got to go away from here.
When the other rabbits hear of Fiver's vision, do they believe him?
Why should we care?
Because the rabbits are us, Donnie.
Why should I mourn for a rabbit like it was human?
Are you saying that the death of one species is less tragic than another?
Of course. A rabbit's not like us. You know, it has no history books, no photographs, no knowledge of sorrow or regret. I mean, I'm sorry, Miss Bomber. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I like rabbits and all. They're cute and they're horny. And if you're cute and you're horny, then you're probably happy that you don't know who you are or why you're even alive. And you just want to have sex as many times as possible before you die. I mean, I just don't see the point in crying over a dead rabbit. You know, who never even feared death to begin with.
You're wrong. These rabbits can talk. They're the product of the author's imagination, and he cares for them, so we care for them. Otherwise, we've just missed the point.
But aren't we forgetting about the miracle of storytelling? The Deus Ex Machina, the God machine. That's what saved the rabbits.
So, two things are happening here. Donnie and Gretchen are disagreeing in two different levels. First of all, the idea that we should care for the rabbits, so for the lives and the existence of all of them, is on the positive by Gretchen, that she says that that the rabbits should be saved, and Donnie that he knows intellectually that they should be, but he struggles like the second movie, with the emotionally with it. Okay, so he already sees that he will have to die for to save the universe and to do what it's asked of him, and he knows that intellectually, I think, but emotionally he still struggles because he's a young man full of life, and he doesn't want to just disappear. At the second level, there's a resentment from Donnie towards Gretchen, that given that both of them are clued in, actually, they both know what's going on, more or less, that they haven't had sex yet. And he looks at her when it says the rabbits want to have sex as many times before they die, and he looks at her very clearly, and she gets mad, and she remains mad. There's a missing scene on the movie in which they are on the corridor. Gretchen is speaking with some girls, and Donnie wants to talk to her, and she says, "Not now, Donnie. I can't now." And they won't speak until the party. So, in which she would concede, I think. So now there's a little scene that is just amazing, and it has to. We couldn't miss it.
No, it was ridiculous. I'll call you back.
Rose.
Kitty.
Rose, I'm sure that you're aware of the horrible allegations against Jim Cunningham.
I know, I saw it on TV, something about a kitty porn dungeon.
Oh, please, don't use those words. It's obviously some kind of conspiracy to destroy an innocent man. And I have taken it upon myself to spearhead the Jim Cunningham defense campaign. Rose, I have to appear at his arraignment tomorrow morning. And as you know, the girls are scheduled to leave for Los Angeles in the morning. Now, as their coach, I was the obvious choice to chaperone them on their trip,
But now you can't go.
Yes. Now, believe me, of all the other mothers, I would never dream of asking you, but none of the other mothers are available to go.
I don't know, Kitty. It's a bad weekend. Eddie's in New York.
Rose, I don't know if you realize what an opportunity this is for our daughters. This has been a dream of Samantha's and all of ours for a long time. I made her lead dancer. Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion. And she looks at her like, you're a freaking loon. It's, it's just amazing. Okay, so there's a at this point there's a scene before in which there's not in the movie, but it's on the script, in which it it says that Donnie has drawn an intricate drawing of a cloud formation, say, and it says the portal. So we have evidence that by this time he already knows the details of how things will go. We don't know about Gretchen if he has shared that information with her because they got mad. They got mad on the what ship down scene. We got the scene which that is not in the movie, in which he is rejected by her while she's with her friends. There's another one that is also missing, in which he suggests her to skip class and go to the bridge with him, and she says, "What? Are you crazy? No." And then we get to the two scenes in which he says, "How does it feel to have a Waco as a son to Rose?" And she says, "Wonderful." And then when they are on the bus before Rose departs with the girls, he says, "There's nothing broken in my brain." At that moment, I believe he has accepted his destiny. He already doesn't take refuge on the idea that the whole thing might be a mental illness, hallucinations. The weight of the evidence is so high that he cannot entertain that that idea anymore, and he has to accept his destiny. And he says, "There's nothing wrong, broken in my brain. There's something else you don't know, but just so you know." And he knows that if everything goes well, he will not see her again. Okay. Then we go to the scene in which, after having been rejected by Gretchen, he stumbles upon his class and finds Miss Pomeroy gathering her things and leaving, and they have this conversation.
Hello, Donnie. It's Friday. Shouldn't you be off with your friends, scaring old people?
What's going on?
I don't know. That's a good question. Suffice to say, I'm no longer your English teacher. They fired me.
That's bullshit. Like the only good teacher here.
Thank you.
Let's sell her door.
This famous linguist once said that of all the phrases in the English language, of all the endless combinations of words in all of history, that cellar door is the most beautiful.
Cellar door.
Okay, so we have here the tip that, as a manipulated living, Miss Pomeroy gives Donnie, uh, the cellar door, which I think it is one of the Tolkien's sons that had said that phrase. We also see that, well, he says you are the only good teacher here. What about Manitov? Come on, he gave you the book. That's wild, is Donnie. Also, we see Trita when he's living, and he is behaving like a Christ figure, like a redeemer. She looks at her and promises her that everything will get better, which so far it's a promise like Christianism. So he tells her that everything will get better. She runs away, and he sees the book that says Donnie Darko that she has drawn in, and that means probably the admiration or the gratefulness of Churita probably has trespassed or into well, she's probably infatuated with him at this moment. And then we go to the last scene of Donnie and Dr. Thurman, which again we're gonna go in the script, and okay, I'll read the whole thing because I think that is Donnie is under hypnosis. Dr. Thurman says, and when I clap my hands together twice, you will wake up. Do you understand? Yes. Do your so your parents, why did you disappoint them? I was playing with fire. Is it Frank who wants you to destroy the world, to set it on fire? Donnie doesn't answer. People get hurt, but it was an accident. The house was under construction. People get hurt. I don't want to hurt anyone. But you were punished. Yes, I went to jail. Do you wish that you were punished by your parents instead? They didn't buy me what I wanted for Christmas this year. What did you want for Christmas this year? Hungry, hungry hippos. How did you feel being denied those hungry, hungry hippos? Regret. What else makes you feel regret? That I did it again. You've done it again. Yes, I flooded my school. I burned down that perverse house. I think I only have a few days left before they catch me. Why did you do these things, Donnie? Did Frank tell you to commit these crimes? He does not respond. I have to obey him because he saved my life. He controls me and I have to obey him, or I'll be left all alone and I'll never figure out what all this means. Okay? If God exists, this is already not in the movie. If God exists, I think now that he might. Why? Because I'm so horny. God exists because you're so horny? I think so. I think that's one of the clues. I think it's a clue that tells us to keep going. Where are we going? No answer. Where are we going, Donald? How is that? I have the and he says, I have the power to build a time machine. Okay, that is relevant. It's not in the movie. It's talking about a freaking time machine. How is that possible? Says Dr. Thurman. Grandma Dad will teach me how soon. How then how is time travel possible? It will have to be God's portal. They will let me to it, then I will go back in time and I won't feel regret anymore. He says that he will go back in time. The way I understand it, he does not go back in time. He just belongs to the tangent universe and disappears. The plane appears on the first universe, on the principal universe, and crushes the Donnie in there. But that's how it's explained. Then it says, when will that happen? Soon. Time is almost up. Then he gets up on his feet, struggling them, and then it says, it has to happen soon, it has to happen soon, because he knows the timing. What is going to happen? Then Donnie, freaking, says the script, Frank is going to kill. He's freaking because he's going to kill Gretchen, and he's already pretty much in love with her. Who is he going to kill? Who is he going to kill? And then it's when Donnie sees the Frank. It says, I can see him right now. And then Dr. Thurman says, where is he, Donald? He is right here. He can read my mind and he'll show me the way out of this. The sky is going to open up, and then he will reveal himself to me. I believe that this he is not Frank, it's God. Dr. Thurman says that's when he's just catching him. If the sky were to suddenly open up, there would be no law, there would be no rule, there would only be you and your memories, the choices you've made, and the people you've touched. The life that has been carved out from your subconscious is the only evidence by which you will be judged. Because when this world ends, there will only be you and him and no one else. It's too late. I've already ruined my life. He's saying that because he knows that he'll die. And Dr. Thurman says, you will survive this, Donald. I promise you, and that you will survive. Let me help you. Okay. And then she claps her hands, and he wakes up. Okay. I believe that Dr. Thurman by now is already a believer. She doesn't have the full picture, but she has opened, while he is in hypnosis, she's open to the possibility that actually this might not be a mental illness thing, but that this tangent universe thesis could be right, because remember that she saw the book, The Philosophy of Time Travel. She could ponder whether this is actually a possibility that it's true. Then there's this little scene which she says to Donnie that those were placebos, which for some people might indicate that he's not taking his medication and therefore he's having all these hallucinations. I don't think this is consistent, because if you think that the whole thing is an hallucination from the beginning to the end, this scene will also be an hallucination. So he's grateful that those are just placebos. And then she says the very important, Donald, an atheist is someone who denies altogether the existence of a God. You are an agnostic. An agnostic is someone who believes that there can be no proof of the existence of God, but does not deny the possibility that God exists. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And now we go straight into the party scene in which Elizabeth watches Donnie and Gretchen who has just arrived um, uh, with a story of distress in her home, um, go upstairs. And Elizabeth, you can see in her face that she just sees that his brother and Gretchen are probably gonna get busy.
I don't know. She didn't leave a note, and the house was all messed up.
But you're okay. You should call the cops.
Yeah, they said I should leave the house and that I should go to a safe place. I'm just so scared. I'd keep thinking something awful is happening, and it's my fucking stepdad. I know it. I guess some people are just born with tragedy in their blood.
Okay, what's happening here? I believe Gretchen comes with a female archetype, and she comes upstairs, and what she's doing, she's presenting herself very vulnerable, and what she's doing, in fact, is she's offering herself to him sexually. And you can see that Donnie, she looks at him while he's not yet looking at her. And he then smiles, realizing what's going on. And then she takes off her hoodie, indicating that now they're going to have sex now, which is, it's not shown, but I think that it's what happens at this moment. Okay. So she basically came to offer herself for him. And this is related with the resentment that he felt for her not having done that before. And because remember that Gretchen is also clued into what's going to happen. They both know that this world, this changing universe, is going to end. It's going to end soon, and that the motivation for him to sacrifice himself was that he was so horny, because he was he had this randomness in him to motivate him. So now the story is going to end. The entrapment is going to happen, because the main objective, which is the burning and discovering of Jim Cunningham, already has happened. So we're gonna wrap up the story and the tangent universe, and he gets his reward. And Gretchen, I think that is offering herself to him. I think that willingly and happily. Then they go down. Both go down after this scene, and he sees into the tunnel of Gretchen's destiny. What's going to happen? The light again in the script, the light changes. In the movie, they do it a bit different, but let's watch it. Okay, so we see in her tunnel of the watery arrow, we see several things, and the last thing we see is the computer game in which the car tumbles and has an accident, which is exactly what's going to happen now. Richie Kelly uses this in this film, and I think that in others uses this crappy computer images, which is a pity because otherwise the movie is beautiful. Okay, so they then go with the bikes. They go to Grandma Dad's house. You know the story. If you don't, you shouldn't be watching this. They have the whole thing, and as a puzzle happens that Gretchen is on the floor because he has sent the letter. Grandma Dad is there waiting with the letter. The car misses her at the last moment, tramples over Gretchen, which is dead. In the script, actually, Donnie goes and checks her pulse. I think it's better that he does not, because it means that he already knows what happened. He's just accepting the divine plan. And when I say divine, I say it because it's the best expression to say it, as we all have a Christian culture, although we might not be Christian. So we all have this universe or our point of view of the world. Actually, when Donnie is stabbing Frank on the mirror, I think that on some of those scenes, Frank talks in plural, saying that we want you to guide you. So it might be just an above manipulator, let's say, that might not necessarily be a Christian God. Could be, we don't know. We don't need to get there. So that happens. She's dead, and the clown guy goes out and says Frank, and Donnie finally.
What were you guys doing in the middle of the road, huh? What are you thinking?
And Donnie has just created a manipulated death so that this manipulated death, Frank, will warn him. And from the very first moment, he's not scared of him. Okay, so that's how the story goes. This video is for people who are obsessed with Donnie Darko, so I get that all of you know what it is. Just remark there's two classic time traveling paradoxes here. First of all, of course, is that Frank warns him, and at the end of his actions, he creates Frank that would warn him. That's an irresolvable paradox, but it's classic of this kind of, and one of the things that makes them fascinating. And then the other one is the engine one. In the primary universe, as history will stand, once the tangent universe has become extinct, and has been purged, as it says in the movie, the engine will come from the tangent universe. So this is a very nice operation in which the tangent universe is created, and it's very, very well tied up. It generates those dreams into current people in the primary universe, and it ties up almost perfectly. And the only thing that gets outside, or it's like the debris of this tangent universe, has been the engine. So the tangent universe gets created, and the engine of the tangent universe goes back. They say in time, but since they are the parallel universe, yeah, they are also in time-wise backwards, but get created, and then that's another paradox. Yes. Okay. So what's my main theory? My main theory is that not only this is not the first tangent universe, but actually several tangent universe has happened, and that a higher power, which for simplicity I'm gonna call God, has created on purpose. That's my theory. That God has created this tangent universe on purpose to create those dreams in people. So what will happen is that he will lose an unstable, mentally unstable teen who had the capacity, his rebelliousness, his colon bullshit of the world to think outside the box, and therefore to be able to be used by God to fix some things, and those things get fixed by the dreams that we see at the end of the movie. We see that the impact that has Donnie has had on people. We see Dr. Thurman. We see just waking up and saying, "Okay, so despite all my psychiatric upbringing, some things might escape." We see the Mr. Professor Monitov probably realizing what has happened, and probably being more aligned with Miss Pomeroy as to the state of the education. We see Charita with a blissful view of calmness, and getting a little bit of this redemption that Donnie was promising, a little bit of a break from her pitiful life. We see Jim Cunningham shaking, and he probably will not act on his pedophilic intentions. We see Miss Farmer realizing the terrible mistake that she was doing, and because of her horrible attitude in life, super, her superior and her narrow-mindedness, and at the end we see Frank filling his missing eye. And look at the scene of Frank, and look at what he has near his mask.
Kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Children waiting for the day they feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. And to feel the way that every
Okay, so we got this beautiful scene with Mad World running, and we have this final scene of Frank. Two things. First of all, in this song, there's the line, "Is the dreams of which I'm dying are the best that I ever had." which is I think it's very it resounds on it tells something. It has some kind of relationship with the movie, probably not intentionally. And then there's the thing at the end in which you see the bunny mask, and you see a cloth. Okay, so I believe that this cloth, which is white and blue, is a talit. A talit is a Jewish uh, cloth, and we also see that Frank is very artistic and very talented. So I think Frank is Jewish, um, and that points me to the missing piece that I have about this, because I think that in the same way that Donnie is a destroyer Christ figure, I believe that Frank is some sort of sacrificial lamb figure. But my biblical um, expertise is not good enough for 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 finishing this thesis. But I think that something like that's going on. Other things are going on, like the at the beginning of this of the film, you see the picture of the eye in in uh, in Donnie's bathroom, and at the end of the scene, you see that this eye has like a skull representing death. Also, you see that uh, that he's dressed as a skeleton in the party, which is already signifying death. You see, there's also other little details, like for instance, you'll see. Look at the book that Principal Cole has on his desk when he's speaking to his to Donnie's parents. It's not actually a book, but it's a magazine, a love magazine that probably it's related to the program of Gene Cunningham. So you can see that penetration into school life was like really deep. Also, there's a little things that I also like for instance the repetition of names. So it's like Aaron Armitage, Cherie Shen, Donnie Darko, in which the first letter and the second letter it's repeated. There's something amazing about this movie. It's not the story itself; it's the color, it's the youth that shows. It is the it's something magic. The music definitely music creates an atmosphere which is incredible. Um, I think the movie itself is what we in Catalan say a genialitat, which means that the work itself is genius, not necessarily Richard Kelly, uh, because a genius should be able to repeat the same genius work all the time. I believe that it's a special movie because he says that he was creating that movie. He was thinking about it like 20 years. I'm paraphrasing, and he was doing it in 20 days, something like that. So, in the idea and the creation of the universe of this movie, which is what's amazing, is a very young mind, and you can see it because it reflects the absurdity of the real world. Um, Watched or looked through the this young mind. And then it was executed when he was 25 years old, which is something amazing. I don't imagine any 25-year-old knocking on doors and getting them open and answered. Actually, the actress that is playing Dr. Thurman, I think she left acting retirement um, to do that character. So the capacity to pull strings is just amazing, and I think that this, I think that when we are young, we have a creativity for which we don't have the conscientiousness to write it into a script. Most of us, well, actually few of us, but I think that we have this, and then when we get old, we are capable of doing the work, but then you need to be a real good director to pass this barrier of losing all this creativity that we have when we are young. And I think that this movie is genius because of the young mind of that created it and actually managed to film it while he was really still very young. And you can see that because this little pieces, like for instance when at the end um, Rose waves to Gretchen and Gretchen waves to Rose, and they have this moment of almost deja vu, some sort of, they have some connection but it's not real because it happened in the dungeon universe, but they can feel it somehow. And there's a little boy waving with Gretchen. I think that based on an anecdote of Richard Kelly when he was waving to a lady in a hotel, I think that this little boy is somehow is representing, not necessarily for the story, but it's there. It's a little bit Kelly in there waving. So there's a lot of these little things, like references to the politics of the moment and a lot of little details that are just precious in this movie. Okay, so we come to the end of this third part of almost an hour each video about Donnie Darko. Yeah, I'm also sorry because I've enjoyed so much doing these videos, and I'll leave you with the amazing acting of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Who are you talking to?